Do you know the 14 traits of successful chiropractors? We've interviewed some of the top chiropractors in the industry and have identified the common traits that they all share. Jump on over to www.chirobusinessmojo.com to get your free report today.
Welcome to the Chiro Business Mojo podcast, where we deconstruct the methods, marketing, and mindset of successful business people and chiropractors from around the world. And now your host, Dr. Richard Day.
Yes, I am Dr. Richard Day, and this is the Chiro Business Mojo podcast. Hello, and thank you once again for spending some of your very valuable time with me. Well, let's get to it. Let's get right back to part 2 of our interview with Dr. Russel Rosen. I want to go back to something that you said. You kind of touched on the fact that people have short attention spans, and they're not always engaged in listening to what it is we say. So when you're laying out this Socratic method and you're taking someone through the Q&A, how long do you devote to that?
Look, the truth of the matter is if you're talking about them and you're not lecturing them, it can go on for days. I'm not suggesting that, but what I am saying is that if I'm lecturing you, not very long. But if I'm talking to you about your pain and how it's affecting your life, you can go on forever.
Well, I guess what I mean is in the setting of an office where you've got patients in the lobby waiting and you've set aside some time, how do you manage it from a time management perspective to speak effectively and get it there in a way that's not going to take, and not that you couldn't split it up over multiple visits, but I think you...
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, my bad. I thought I didn't understand that question. So here's the deal. In my world, I think that there's a certain amount of time we need to spend with people to help them get it. I have spent an hour doing a visit 1, and I've spent 6 minutes doing a visit 1. I've worked with doctors who only want to spend 2 or 3 minutes. My experience is 2 or 3 minutes more often than not isn't enough. 6, 7, 8 minutes, plenty of time if I do it right. I think that if we have a CA doing a pre-consultation asking very specific questions, it can save us a ton of time. If you had a CA spend 8, 10 minutes asking very specific questions with a patient, and then you knew all those answers, you could spend 4 or 5 minutes at most in a consult. You could spend 4 or 5 minutes in an exam and be done. You could be out in 8 or 10 minutes, and they fully understand that whole story, and they've said it out loud. Have I done it in less time? Yes. I've done it in 6. You got to be a master. You got to know what you're doing. As far as a report of findings, again, it just depends on who's doing what. I have docs who the doctor time is 5 or 6 minutes, and I have docs who spend 30 minutes. It just depends on what you want to do. As far as daily interactions, there's a 4-step process that I really recommend, and you need a good 30 seconds per person. If you're not willing to spend 30 seconds per person, I don't believe you're ever going to have a legendary retention. Like if you want an 80, 90, 100, 200 retention, I think you got to do a good regular daily interaction, regular visit, and I think you need to do re-exam, re-reports.
Yeah, I think a lot of docs miss the boat on that. That's another opportunity to engage with that person, I believe, and really help them understand and see the progress that they've made over the course of a care plan.
Without a doubt. And look, it doesn't take a lot of time, but it needs to be Socratic. And again, if we're not willing to do that, they're never going to get it. Like, I don't buy it just because they said that out loud at the end of the first visit. Just so you know, they see it in a presentation, they say it out loud at the end of the first visit. They see it in another presentation, they say it out loud in the second visit. In my next couple of visits, I'm asking them questions such as this. Patient comes in and says, God dang, I'm feeling better. And I go, far out. Why do you think that is? Now, if you heard, well, look, you've been adjusting me. We're correcting subluxations. Energy is starting to flow. I'm eating better and exercising. I'm dealing with stress. My body is starting to heal. And it makes sense that I'm starting to feel better. Would you be happy with that answer?
Yeah, I'd love it.
Yeah. I guarantee you 100% by their third or fourth adjustment, that's the answer you'll hear if you do it Socratically. If you've taken them through the process, they've said the whole story. The first time they feel better, you ask them, why do you think that is? And they go, I don't know. All right, well, you've been coming in here. What have you been doing? You've been adjusting me. Yeah, what are you adjusting? My back. All right, in your back, what are we adjusting? Subluxations. Well, what's a subluxation? Nerve interference. Yeah. Okay, so why are we adjusting that? All right, to get nerve flow. Okay, and what have you been doing different at home? I've been eating better. All right, so you have pain here because of what? Oh, yeah, my subluxation. I'm not getting proper nerve supply. My body is letting me know something's wrong. Huh. Why are you feeling better? Oh, you've been adjusting me. Energy's flowing. Like, you just got to be willing to spend that time for 2 or 3 visits. But then the rest of the time, we don't have to spend all that time. Does that make sense?
It does. And I'm looking at the overall picture of running a practice, and we've spent a good deal of time on this particular aspect. What other aspects are you seeing in practice that are keeping us from being successful?
Okay, so in our level 1 program, we have 5 systems, and these are the 5 systems that are, we can double click on any and all. System 1 is headspace and belief systems. It's belief systems about who I am and what I do. We talked about some of that. It's such a can of worms, and so many doctors have such faulty premise that it's just, there's so much to this, but that's system 1. System 2 is about the business, how to run a business and how to build a dream team. I look at it as an operating system for your computer. If you don't have an operating system, you can't run, Word. You can't run QuickBooks. If you don't have a system to run your business, you're chasing your tail. Number 3 is communications, which we've talked about. Number 4 is marketing. And number 5 is flow. How do I keep the flow? How do I continue to grow? And the reality is that as I need to upgrade my systems. Your present system right now, Doc, whoever you are, wherever you're at, you're seeing 10 people a day, you're seeing 100 people a day, whatever it is, your present system will only last so long. But I promise you, double where you're at, triple where you're at, quadruple where you're at, and your present system will no longer support the load. So we always have to keep upgrading our systems and make sure we have flow. And that's system 5. So I'm happy to double click into any of those that you like.
Let's start with the dream team. What does that optimal dream team look like? And as you said, it's going to change, as your volume goes up and you're serving more people. But if you were designing it, what would you say that team consists of?
Here's the deal. Headspace and procedures. Step 1, I've got to get clear about who I want in each position and what it is that they're going to be doing. So the first thing I got to get clear about is I want people that this is not a job, it's not a career, it's a calling. I have to get people who are passionate about my mission, my vision, and my purpose. And if they're not passionate about serving and they're not passionate about helping people live better lives through chiropractic care, then I don't care how fast they type, they should not be a part of my team. So far, so good?
Yep.
Now I got to take a look at who does what. There's a million versions of this, but in general, I coach some docs who don't want CAs at all. You don't have to have CAs. Personally, I love CAs. And I hate them. It's bold. Everything is a double-edged sword. So the thing I love about CAs is they leverage my time. They do things better than I do, and I don't have to spend my time doing it, so I can do what only the doctor can do. I can adjust, do visit 1s and 2s. They help out a lot with visit 1s. They help a lot with visit 2s. They help a lot with re-exams. So really, I get to leverage my time, and I get to do what I like to do best. The thing I don't like about them is that you got to manage them. They're human beings. And the more people we have in the same room, the more challenges we could have, which is why you need a system. So if I have the right system and I have the right people, I'm not managing them. The team manages itself. And so That's the whole trick, is I get the right people and they're doing the right things and the team is managing itself. And there's a very specific process to make that happen. In general, I would like a front desk CA, and that human being is answering the phone and they're acting as a quarterback. They're dealing with traffic. They're answering the phone. They're greeting the they're greeting the patients. They're sending them back. They're doing all that kind of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm doing insurance, then I probably have an insurance CA who's doing billing and collections and talking with patients about finance and that kind of stuff. The bigger I get, the more I start to break these pieces down. I have, worked with offices where they're really doing serious volume and you have two different CAs. Sometimes you have one in the back that's not in the front and they're just answering phones and they're dealing with setting appointments and that kind of thing. Where the front one is really just the front person dealing with the people. So there's lots of different versions of doing this. But the trick is, if I want to use the least number of people and get the biggest bang for the buck, I need to automate my systems. So I want you to imagine this right now. Imagine you're seeing, well, let me just ask you this. Front desk CA, patient walks in and they need to pay. They need to write a receipt. They need to enter that into the computer. They need to reschedule them for next time. They also need to be answering the phones and all that other stuff. How many patients per hour can one person really process off the top of your head around?
Well, I'd say about one person in 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe if they're really fast, and none of the people want to talk, but we all know that patients want to talk.
Yeah. So, let's just say, I'm going to say 5 minutes, but let's even say 3. Okay, cool. Now, plus I'm answering the phone, new patient just called, all that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Now, we're going to go into Russ's land of make-believe. All of Russ's patients schedule in advance so they don't have to reschedule. And they all are on a care plan so they don't have to pay. They don't need a receipt. How many people can that CA now process?
Well, a lot more.
A lot more. That's the answer.
Good, it saved me some math.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a whole lot more, right?
Yeah.
So, at a particular time in my practice, I was seeing about 125 people a day, and I had 2 CAs. One CA ran the front, and one CA did the stuff in the back. But everybody prepaid. Everybody pre-scheduled. Not everybody, but I'm going to say 9 out of 10. Every once in a while, someone would come in and they had to buy a new plan. They knew where to go get their travel cards. They knew where to put them back. You just automate your systems, right? And if you do that, then you can use a lot less people and have a much bigger bang for the buck. Does that help?
Yeah, it does. And I'm thinking now, we're in the digital age. And so you can have people go online, I would think, be able to pick a time slot on a virtual calendar and even, use PayPal or something like that. I'm sure there's a way to do that to where the CA is not involved and a human wasn't involved.
Yes. So we've got that version. And we also have, I can come in and swipe my little card so that checks me in. My name goes up on the little gizmo, and so I know when I get called into the back room, and there's going to be hot seats back there, and I know that I go back and I'm the next one in line, that kind of thing. All of that can work in the digital age and make things just so much more simple and so much easier. It can. Just depends on where docs want to go with it.
Well, the other one I want to drill down into is the marketing. There's a lot of options out there, and there's old school marketing that's been around for years, and there's so much, again, with the advent of digital technology and the internet, social media, new avenues and tools to reach potential patients as well. So can you talk a little bit about what sort of marketing you're finding that is working the best right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And as always, it's just I got to take a 10,000 foot view first, because people will ask me, what's the best marketing? And I got to start with, for what? So I just want to give a quick overview. Marketing comes down to three things. Number one, clarify who your niche market is or are. Number two, clarify the sticky message that would interest those people. And number three, figure out a way to get your message in front of them. So if you've ever studied marketing, you know the smaller the niche market, the bigger the response. If you stand on top of a bar and yell chiropractic helps everyone, you're probably not going to get a great response. But if you get clear about who you want to work with, so I would ask doctors to get very clear about who your niche markets are. It might be athletes. It might be elite athletes. It might be, in fact, just for fun, let's look at this for a moment. I like working with athletes. So what might be the message to elite athletes? Maybe I'm going to give a talk or do an ad at a CrossFit. What are some of the things that would interest CrossFitters or elite athletes?
I'd say increasing their performance and decreasing their chances of injury. And maybe even if they've had an injury, getting back to the CrossFitting as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So if I could improve your performance, prevent injuries, and help you recover faster, would you be interested? And the answer is?
Yes.
Now, let's assume that I'm in front of a group of curves women. What might interest curves women?
Well, anything related to getting in shape, losing weight, looking better, feeling better.
Yep, I'd agree. Look better, feel better, and, defy the aging process.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean that they don't want personal bests? Does that mean they don't want to recover faster? Not at all. It's just that's not the message to this niche market. So get clear about who your niche markets are. Number two, get clear about the sticky message that would interest those people. And step three, figure out how to get the message in front of them. Now, there's 4 possible ways to get the message in front of them. So far, so good?
Yes.
Number 1, I can do internal things. So we have Thanksgiving coming up, and I could do a special opportunity for friends and family to come in. I could do talks. I could do series of talks. Talks on mental emotional stress, talks on biochemical stress, talk on physical stress, talk on nutrition. So I can do talks that interest my tribe. To this day, there's no question in my mind, doing talks is just one of the best things that we can do because it really helps them get it. They're really engaged. They're really excited to be there. It shifts their consciousness. I have enough time with them. And if they'll bring friends and family into it, they're all coming in. I know if I got you at my talk, you're going to be a new patient. So I can do things inside of my practice. So far, so good?
Yes.
I can do things outside of my practice. Now, classically, the things I can do outside of my practice, or I can do advertising. That could be print ads. It could be radio. It could be TV. But that's outside of the practice. I can do talks and I can do screenings. Those are the classic things. Do screenings still work? Without a doubt. They still work. Are they a pain in the butt and take a lot of time? Yes. But I was just talking to Dave Major, 3 weeks ago or something like that. He just did one. He had like 64 people at it that came in from a screening. Like, don't kid yourself. Screenings still work. You just got to know how to do them. And again, my experience is, and I don't know if do you know who Dave Major is?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. Dave Major does screenings. But regardless, if you do it the way I recommend, if you, by the end of the screening, and again, this can be done in 2 or 3 minutes, if you get them to really understand that whole story, then they can come in for the right reasons. So there's screenings, There's talks, outside talks at different groups and clubs and churches and that kind of thing. And then there's kind of advertising. So there's internal, there's external, there's reactivations. So we can do different kind of reactivation things, people who've seen us in the past. And then there's wild, wild west called the internet. And there's a ton of stuff on the internet that does work, and there's a ton of stuff on the internet that doesn't work, and it's shifting sands. It's really, really interesting and very, very tricky. And I would say that there's a ton of things out there that you can spend a fortune on and get nothing in return. And there's a handful of things that really, really work as far as bringing in niche market patients. If you're working with like a marketer who really understands it, they'll be using words like this. They're going to talk with you about who's the person that we're trying to get the information to. Let's describe who that person is. You've got to understand the person. You got to understand what they're looking for. The more you can define who that person is, it's Francine, the family, who runs her family. There's Alan, the athlete. You got to get really clear about this kind of stuff. And then there's ways to get that information out. You can use pay-per-click, you can use Facebook, you can use Facebook ads, you can use social media. It's really, there's a couple of different versions. One is about that you're building your tribe, you're building relationships. Remember, in social media, they don't want to be sold to. They don't want advertisements. They want to build a relationship with you. I have people who watch a lot of my programs or listen to things like this, and they go to my website and they download a lot of stuff. And by the time they get on the phone with me, because they want to work with me, they're like, dude, I already know you. And that's what social media is about. It's building relationships and then helping them understand that they may want to come in. There's also direct marketing. And direct marketing is, there's a pay-per-click, and that would be for, a particular kind of a symptom or a particular kind of a desire that they have. And they would click on it, and it would be like on your website, you have something about the 14 tips. I put in my name and email. You've now captured my name and email, and I got in return a really cool 14 tips. You can then have autoresponders coming to me over time where you're giving me more valuable information with offers for me to come in. So there's all kinds of stuff on the internet that can work, and I'm just suggesting you be really careful because you can spend a lot of money on that and get nothing in return.
Well, you've shared significant wisdom and value to our listeners in terms of what someone who's got an established practice can do to really dig in and start making some effective changes, not only in their communication, but in the way they do things and market their practice. I want to shift now and talk about the new doc, the guy or girl who's just starting out and doesn't know a whole lot about what they should or should not be doing. What advice or tips do you have for that person?
Yeah, look, I recognize that this will sound self-serving because I am a mentor, I am a coach, it's what I do for a living. Get a coach. Find someone that you vibe with and get a coach and do what they say. Don't reinvent the wheel. Don't get out there and try and figure out all this stuff on your own. Get somebody who's going to help you get clear about who you are and what you do, about where you're at and where you want to get to, and come up with very specific strategies of how to get there. That's number one. With that said, look, the thing we got to do is get really clear about how am I going to bring in these new patients and what am I going to do when they get in? So the what am I going to do when they get in part, it's the stuff we were talking about, like our level 1 program or coaching with us or one of the other wonderful groups out there. There's so many of them out there. But then the question is, how am I going to bring them in? Well, you got to get out there. You got to build a tribe. You got to get out and shake hands. You've got to get out personally. I really recommend going out and, meeting people in your neck of the woods when you open up a place and do surveys and ask them, hey, listen, I'm new. I'd like to just introduce myself. You're not trying to get them as a patient. You're just asking for advice. Let them put their arm around you and say, hey, listen, I've been here a long time. Here's what I'd recommend. This is what I would advertise in. These are the hours I would be open to come and see a chiropractor, that kind of thing. Get out and meet people. Do a grand opening. Do any possible place you can give a talk. There's tons of places, Lions clubs or Rotary clubs that are looking for speakers. They kind of suck because they always have people come, but just get out in front of people. The more people you can get out in front of, build a big social media kind of thing. Learn how to do these target market kind of campaigns. Those are going to bring people in. Once you get them in, you got to get them to understand the value of what you do. So it's not a whole lot different. It's just there's just so much that we don't know when we just got out of school. That's a challenge, and that's why I recommend a coaching group or a program or a mentorship. And truthfully, I recommend it for everyone. I always have a coach, at least one myself.
Well, you've coached a lot of chiropractors and given a lot of advice, and you mentioned that you have a coach as well. What's the best business advice you've ever been given?
The best business advice. So, man, that so much that here's the best business advice I ever got. Love what you do. That was the best business advice I got. Like, I got to tell you, I love what I do. I love coaching. Where I'm at in my life, thank goodness, I don't have to work. I have a wonderful life. I surf my butt off over here. Man, I race cars. Like, man, I love living here in Maui. And I still work and I still coach because I love what I do. That passion, hopefully you can feel that come through. Right? It's been a long day. Let's see, so this is now 13 hours for me. I mean, and I'm on fire. I'm here to share any more I can share with you because I love what I do. So from the best business advice, it would be love what you do and then come up with systems. Run your business like a business. Don't run it like a mom and pop store. You know, systems, automate systems, all really critical stuff.
Well, what's the best way for people to contact you and find out more about what you do?
Here's the scoop. Two different things. One, if you go to the8stepsbook.com, the8stepsbook.com, you can download a really great ebook which will dive into details about these 3 pillars and 5 systems. You'll also then get a series of emails from me with content. And no, it's not spamming you and there's no hard kind of sell or anything, but like that process of getting your patients to fully say that out loud, I have 2 videos that go into extreme detail and they not only give you all the information, but they give you the brochure that you would use with the patient. I have stuff that I'll send you on marketing. I have stuff that I'll send you on Headspace. From all of the 5 systems, I'll send you stuff so you can keep getting more of my content. And then you can say, man, I love this guy. I want to work with him. And then call me up and do a free consult. Or you can say, this dude isn't for me. But see, I'd much rather automate my funnel here, which is what I want you to do with your funnel with patients, so that I don't have to get on the phone with people who haven't really been exposed to me and already love me. You know, when the time I get on the phone with someone, most everyone just starts coaching with me or Angie because they've already been exposed to so much. We also have our website, which is the optimalhealthchiropracticsystem.com or the ohcsystem.com. Ton of information there. Again, if you go to the 8stepsbook.com, you'll get a ton of information. If you ever don't want the stuff we're sending, you just click on subscribe and you won't get anything anymore.
Well, Dr. Rosen, I am so grateful that you've been on the show today and you've shared so much valuable information with our listeners. I appreciate your time and your wisdom, and thanks for being on the show.
Dr. D, thanks so much. Much love and aloha to you and all the docs listening. Get out there and save lives.
Thanks for listening to the Chiro Business Mojo podcast at www.chirobusinessmojo.com.